Hey, YouTube. Well, it's time to talk about the season finale of Queen Sugar, episode 13. Okay, it's over. Sorry it took me, I'm just not getting around to doing this, but been busy all day. And it's been hot in this damn apartment. Briefly, I told you guys that they have been having this net thing all over the building and the scaffolding for getting close to a year in October, right? Well, now before you can open it, you can get a little air, and you can get a little light through the netting they put over the windows. But now they uncovered the window completely, sealed it in, because they're painting now. So we have no air and no light all day damn long, and it's been hot as hell. So now that it's cooled off a little bit, me and my baby can sit down here and talk. Y'all want to see? Come here, baby. Come here. Say hi. Hi. Hi, people. We still here. We still here. There. They're in there, baby. Where they at? Right there. Right. You want to say hello? He going to talk to you. Okay, I'm not here to be a fool. I'm here to talk about Queen Sugar. Okay, it opens up with Micah is apologizing to Charlie. Remember last week? Micah made this big announcement that he was not attending Harvard when all the plans had been made and he had been accepted to Harvard. And I assume several financial arrangements had been already put in place. And he at the last minute decides he wants to go to some art school, historically black college there locally. And he wants to be a photographer for a living. She said, just give me a little time. But he does apologize. So they're on much better terms than they were last week, right? Next thing we see is the cops knocking at the door. Cops come to Charlie's door. They're at the house. They're in the kitchen. And arrest Charlie. They arrest Charlie for the arson of her own meal. Like she needs to be burning up her own meal. So this is obviously a part of Frances's doings. So the whole family shows up at the waiting room there to get Charlie out of jail. After a little bit, Ralph loses it. He's had some history with being in jail. And he is really, real offended that people are railroading his sister and putting her through what he knows goes on in jail, being put through that. Fortunately, they do release her on her own recognizances. And, she comes out. There are photographers everywhere. They've heard that the person running for City Council is in jail. Charlie goes out and has an impromptu press conference on the steps and explain what's been going on. This is practically election day. So I believe the election is probably within a couple of days of her being released from jail, right? Then we see Sam Landry. He goes to Vi's restaurant. They meet. He hands her a stack of papers, and these papers are all about Frances. They call it a dossier. It's not compiled into a book, but it's lots of papers, evidence proving that Frances is the one that arranged this arson and all the other things that happened to stop Charlie. They have evidence, proof, and Sam Landry hands it over. Remember, there's always been a battle in the family a power battle between him, and his sister, Frances. But Frances had pulled a coup and taken over everything. So now he's helping to put her away. Also, he promised Vi that he would make good on the favor that he owed her. So now, of course, this is the last episode. This is the finale. We find out what she had on him. And what it was a friend of hers, a black woman, Sam Landry, had a baby with. So this would have caused him, going back 30 years or so, would have caused him to lose his position in the family. And he even said that his father might have killed him. But there's lots of blood. There seems to be lots of black blood running through this family. which is, I mean, we all kind of medium complexion and so forth. So there's a lot of race mixing in history, but in particular in those two families. Okay, so Sam's got a black daughter somewhere. And Vi has known this and held his secret for all these years. Vi, okay. Vi brings this new evidence that she's got. Just by glancing at it, she can see that it is important. This is what Charlie needs. She brings it to Charlie, and Nova's also there. And they say, oh my God, where'd you get this information? Vi simply says she has history in this town. She still don't let on to this thing she had going with Sam Landry. Right? Nova says, yeah, this is a lot, but it's not all we need. Kind of thing. They haven't really even looked over the papers to see exactly what's all in there. But it's definitely proof of the arson. And of them working with this company for this, with this heating company. Gas company. Right. Next thing we see Darla and Blue. It looks like Darla and Blue are going to be together again in the next season. Darla and Blue. Darla and Ralph. Darla and Ralph, remember last week, they found this gift that hadn't been opened that was from their father, Ralph's father, to Blue. So they give him the gift. You know, Blue gets kind of teary because he remembers, it makes him remember Grandpa. And it's a beach ball. They're landlocked, so maybe it's some kind of thing they had going. I don't know. It's a beach ball. Right. Ralph and Darla seem to be getting very friendly there. They've already confessed that separately that each one of them is in love with the other one still. Nova and Calvin. I thought Calvin was going to get involved in this investigation, but I was wrong. I don't mind saying that I was wrong. He had nothing to do with it. Those ladies did it all on their own, with the help of Sam Landry. Nova and Calvin, they find a place. They find a house. It looks like a pretty big house. Because she has her own house. I guess she'll rent it out or something. But those two are planning on moving together, living together. Remember, their relationship was always secretive. No one knew they were together. And he was a married man. There was racial tensions in town and so forth. But now they've decided they want to live together. I haven't heard husband and wife yet. But they are definitely looking for this big place to live together. Right? And also it's brought up that it's time for him to meet the whole family. Bring these things all out into the open. Right? Their big thing is interracial relationship. And that he was an ex-cop. So Micah has a problem with him. And also Ralph Angel. They don't go into the situation with Ralph's attitude about him in this episode. So that's left open. Maybe that's something for next season. Because at some point he goes to the, you know how they had the election night where they all gather to see who won? They have this at Vi's restaurant, right? She brings Calvin, introduces him to the whole family. Everyone seems to be pretty receptive. There's no problems. And even he shakes hands with Micah. You know, Micah had a little bit of attitude with him. He softened a little bit. And they show Ralph walking into the kitchen when he walks in. So there's no kumbaya with him and Ralph. Something else I guess they're saving for the next season. So we don't know. It's a small town. So I don't know if he was one of the arresting officers or someone who was at the jail. They had some kind of relationship where he was a cop and Ralph was a criminal. I don't know. But they definitely show Ralph walking off camera when he walks on. Okay. Yeah, so everything seems to indicate that Ralph and Darla, Ralph Angel and Darla are going to get back together. They're having all kind of lovey-dovey times. He's stating that he has truly gotten over this situation with her past. He understands it a little better now. He has more respect for her. Even she says, "I want you to look at me like you did before all this happened." He says, "No, I can't. That can't happen. I look at you differently. I have more respect for you. You're stronger, such and such, so and so." They seem to be back together, but there's no official announcement they're back together. She still lives where she lives. He lives where he lives, but it seems every indication seems they're going to be back together, right? Yeah, so they all gathered at the restaurant. The other guy has a little small lead on her, 3% or something like that, and then in the next scene, she wins. So everybody's all ecstatic. I even got excited. I guess there's something about election nights. She's won. She's the new councilwoman for St. Joe. Right? Okay. Next thing we see is Charlie and Francis meet for lunch. I don't know if any food is involved. They're not going to sit there long enough to have food, but they're meeting in a restaurant. And, of course, Charlie's the councilwoman now, and they need her vote. So Francis tries to bribe Charlie, saying maybe we can make things a lot easier here for you, such and such. They didn't show Charlie was wired up, but she doesn't really need to. She has all this evidence on paper. But she says, "Oh, I'm not even in office. I'm not even sworn in. You're already a bribe." When she says the word bribe, the cops come up, and they arrest Miss Francis. And she said, "Don't you?" The boy pulls out the cop pulls out the handcuffs. "Don't you put those things on me. You know what's good for you." Remember now, Francis and her family, they've owned this town for decades, so they don't cuff her up, but they take her away. Nova goes and gives it another chance with her brother, Rough Angel. He's still resistant, but they bond over this information she's gotten about their mother. So these people are from New Orleans area, very superstitious people, very spiritual people, and so I guess it's very important to them that the body is buried somewhere there on the land. Nova shows Ralph the mother's diary, and she tells him that the aunt, who Ralph wasn't even aware of, has told her that she is definitely buried. The mother is definitely buried on the land, and they figure it out about what her favorite flower was, and there was a patch where a lot of flowers were. Eventually, they talked to Mr. Prosper. Mr. Prosper told them stories about how they would find, what was his name? Ernest. His best friend Ernest. Sometimes he'd be wandering on the farm there, talking to himself. We learned this a couple of seasons ago, yeah. But they're saying we think that perhaps he wasn't talking to himself. Perhaps he was talking to Trudy, the wife. I think she's Trudy. Anyway, his wife. So Prosper shows them where he would do this talking to himself, and it happens to be covered with these flowers that she loves so much. So they found a place, and they gave her a headstone. Okay, so those two are now finally made up. So in this, they have everybody making up. They're not leaving no loose angles. The primary thing that they're baiting us for next season is Charlie finds out who this person is who's in charge of this gas company, right? She thinks she's going to meet a man called Parker. When she gets there, Parker is a black woman, a biracial woman. And Parker at some point tells her father to step into the room. And her father is Sam Landry. So this is the mystery child. Landry didn't tell Vi that he had been in touch with the daughter. They had quite a relationship, and a business relationship. So when he was with Vi, it kind of seemed like he was asking whatever happened to her. But he was actually asking for whatever happened to the mother. And they didn't give any closure with that. But the girl, Sam Landry, had been taken care of, but not there in town. She works for this company. She's like a lobbyist, is what Charlie calls her. Anyway, her and Charlie face off. She threatens to take the farm if Charlie will not play ball with them. See, they all want Charlie to play ball with them because they need her vote. This is the vote they were planning on giving to Jacob. Is his name Jacob? All these names. And then Jacob's from Greenleaf. Maybe he's Jacob too. I don't remember. Anyway, they need her vote. But this woman here is threatening to say, well, listen, if you won't play ball, we'll take your farm from you. This is what they're using to bait us for the next season. This is how this is going to pick up. She has a new nemesis, a new rival, right? So the last thing we see, they kind of show everybody being together, lovey-dovey and all this kind of stuff, while Nova is reading from her new project. So the new project, Nova is writing another book, a new book. This one is not going to be secretive, and she's going to begin the story about herself, which was a big complaint to pretty much everybody. Why didn't she write about her own experience more and them less? So they show her starting her new book in her new house with her white man. Should say white man, with her man. All right? You guys remember when this thing first started, the very first episode of the first season, those two were in bed together. So it all come to fruition. Okay, that's the end of it. That is the end of Queen Sugar. Now we have to move into Greenleaf. So I'll see you guys next week for that.